Do it quick, because it ain't going to last long.
We're live.
Oh, we didn't do the intro or any of that other stuff?
Yeah,
Okay.
you still got to do the intro.
Yeah, that's up to you, buddy.
No, the Harry Mack. You didn't do Harry Mack?
1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with a clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. And shout to John, you know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out to y'all. Peace to the whole squad, man. Hope your channel is doing real well on YouTube. Hope you guys are having fun. And it was an honor and blessing to do this little custom freestyle for y'all. Hope you enjoy. Stay up. Yeah. Come on. Hey.
You're listening to episode 302 of PHPUgly.
The shortest episode we've ever had.
This month on Podcaster Cribs.
Hey, Eric, what's the one thing you need for a podcast? Internet connection?
Internet?
Yeah.
That helps.
Okay, listen. Stop all the shenanigans. You're listening to the PHPUgly podcast, and we are three professional PHP developers who get together on a weekly basis to talk about what's going on
with
in
no
our life.
internet.
And that's how good we are. We're so good we don't even need internet. We'll get to all of that. Why am I outside right now in 90-degree heat with a wildfire burning right over the mountain? Because I love the people who listen to our show, especially our Patreon supporters on patreon.com/PHPUgly. And our sponsors, Honey Badger IO and Cloudways, and we'll talk about all of them soon. If you'd like to be part of the show, you can join us in our Discord at discord.phpugly.com. We're there not only during the show, not only when we're recording live, but all week. If you listen to the audio podcast, you might want to pop over to our YouTube channel every now and then. Take a look at what that looks like. See how Discord works. It's all on the screen. In fact, it looks like Discord's working this week, which is great to see. I'm one of your hosts, Eric Van Johnson, and with me is John Condon.
We have people dancing to the intro music. I love it.
Yeah, I love that. And Tom Right Up.
I had nothing to do with what happened to the Queen.
Too soon, man. Too soon.
No, not really.
Well, I think you did. I think I was going to take your queen very early in the game.
You did do that. That was. We did play chess. It was an embarrassment.
Oh, did you play chess with John?
Yeah.
I'm playing chess with him too. He's still waiting for my first move. But it's hard to move when you don't have internet.
Out of nowhere, 2 weeks or a week ago or so, friend of the show, Ben Ramsey, started a game with me. My first ever friend game
he's friend of the show now. He steals an election from me when he invites you to play chess, and all of a sudden we're all buddy with him now. All right.
So that's my first friend game on chess.com, and then out of nowhere, just a day or two later, Tom starts a chess game with me. I'm like, what is going on here?
Because it's fun. I need to get better at it so I can not make a fool of myself.
Wasn't fun.
Oh, it wasn't fun?
No.
Are you a little rusty?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
To be fair, I don't know anybody's chess level, so I don't know if I'm supposed to play to like full potential or not. That I'm good at all. I am not good. I just broke 900 on the 10-minute levels, which was great, but it's taken me a long time to get to that point.
See, that's how bad I am. I don't even know what that means.
So I think you start out around 600, and then depending on how you play, you're either going to go up or down from there. 20, like over 2000, you're getting into like master level, I believe. 1500, you play and you actually care about the game. It's fun. It's a fun pastime. I play 2 to 3 games a day, I think, where I just, up in points, down in points. I got up to like 890 3 or 4 times, and then straight back down to like 8 around 800 to 810. So it's just like this roller coaster ride. So when I broke 900, I was like, I did it. I'm gonna not play for a while so I can enjoy it.
Yeah, that's like reaching champion in Rocket League, which I'm still not able to play, unfortunately.
Why is that?
My controller isn't working.
Oh.
It's the controller fault.
It very much is.
All right, Eric, your internet. What is going on? You're outside.
Man.
You're outside annoying your neighbors right now. Why is that?
Yeah. Fortunately, my neighbors aren't too close to me, but yeah, I'm annoying them.
And you're wearing clothes this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I moved into a house, back in January. Those who've been listening to the show for a while will know my ordeal from moving from my old house to my new house. Much nicer house. Had fiber to the house, which is the first time I've ever had that. Now I've had fiber like speeds from my cable company at my old house, but I've never had actual fiber, and especially fiber that actually came into my house. So that went out on me today, which, like, in general, it was just installed like 9 months ago. So the fact that what they think is wrong, which is the termination point where the fiber actually plugs into the house and gets converted over to Cat 5. That little termination point has gone bad, and apparently they can see that from their office. They're like, "Oh yeah, the termination point's bad. Are the lights on?" And we go through the whole troubleshooting stuff as always.
The toilet's glowing.
And
is that bad?
And so they're like, "Yeah, unfortunately, we're gonna have to replace that." And I'm like, "Okay, is that?" I'm pretty tech savvy. I've done a few things in the past. I'm like, can I just go to like a Best Buy or something and buy one of these things? Oh, no, this is not something you can just go buy. It's not like your router or your modem in your house. This is like specialized for our fiber and this and that. I'm like, okay, all right. So be here tomorrow to fix it. Saturday, like, let me see. Yeah, it looks like our next available appointment is the 22nd. 22nd of the month, like not the like 2 weeks
today's
from now?
Today's the 8th. You realize the 22nd is a long way away.
And they're like, yeah, I'm sorry, that's the thing. I'm like, no. Maybe you don't understand the world we live in now. Like, my wife and I both work from home. Like, our life our finances are dependent on being able to work. And yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, dude. Oh, great. I'm glad you understand. So yeah, so the 22nd is the soonest I can get you. God. And you know what's horrible is I can't even be mad about it, because the house I was living at, where cable was giving me quote unquote fiber speed, I was paying twice as much as I'm paying for actual fiber now. And it's like the expense is so dramatically different that I'm like, I can't be mad about it, because it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I mean, you guys are kind of cheap, so I shouldn't. But man, so as luck would have it, my kid moved up to San Francisco. When they moved up to San Francisco, they didn't have internet. And so, dad being a dad, and they didn't know how to get internet hooked up to their apartment at the time. There was like some confusion around that. So me being me, I go and buy this very expensive AT&T. It's not really a hotspot. It's just like mobile internet, but it's a hotspot. But it's meant for like a lot of bandwidth, a lot of connections. And I got that from them. I think like the modem itself cost me like $700, and then to get the plan for it, they don't even sell it to like civilians. They're like, oh yeah, you have to have a business. I'm like, oh, I have 2 businesses. And I even told him, like, didn't we have a business account with AT&T?
Don't think so.
Okay. So they couldn't find it at the time. I'm like, well, I have 2 businesses. I can give you all the tax codes and all that other stuff. And it took like 2 hours to get this account set up. But I set up a business account with them, which I gotta admit, like, there's been a couple times in my life where I felt like that's kind of a baller play to move to make, and that was one of them. I'm like, oh yeah, I got businesses. I got what business do you want? I got a couple businesses I can give you. So you're
dealing businesses now.
I get this plan, which isn't cheap. I mean, like, that plan cost more, like twice as much as my fiber to my house. But my kid needed internet, so they use it for a while. They work out their internet situation so that they have internet in their apartment, and we kind of forget about it. And I've been meaning to go. I've tried to log into AT&T, and I haven't been able to get into my business account. I can only get into my personal account. So I've been meaning to go to the AT&T store to cancel it, because there was no obligation. It was like a month thing. And my kid was just down here over the weekend. They keep meaning to bring the device to me, because, like I said, the device itself was kind of expensive, and had been forgetting it. And so this happens, and I messaged them. I'm like, hey, I need you to get to the UPS store right now and overnight me that modem, like, immediately. So I got that coming to me tomorrow. I'm hoping that's enough to get me by, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get the wife by. The wife works in medical field, where they're transferring all these big images. That's one of the reasons why we paid so much for internet at our previous house, because we needed a big pipeline. So I don't know how we're going to work that out.
That does not sound good.
Yeah, the people at my internet provider, the fiber people, I got, I escalated it as many times as I could, and I got put on the escalation list that, they basically, I mean, I doubt it even exists. They're like, oh yeah, we have a special escalation list. We'll put you on that. So the first cancel, we'll mark you in. I'm like, yeah. I'm sure you put everybody on that escalation list, or it's really the shit list, and you guys are going to cancel on me on the 22nd, and it's going to be another month out. But
yeah, no, it's written on the toilet paper in the men's room stalls. They just write your name down on the closest sheet of toilet paper.
So it's 90 degrees outside right now. I have, as I said, there's a wildfire burning not too far from my house. I went to Costco to get gas the other day. I should send you the pictures, John. I'm not sure, maybe I'll post them in Discord. The wildfire, it was just like, it's right there. I'm like, I can't believe how close this is. now we've dealt with wildfires in the past. They've gotten much closer to our house, so I'm not panicking yet. But I do have like ash and stuff dropping in my pool, which I'm not complaining about. Like there are people losing their properties and being evacuated. So whatever. If all I'm dealing with is ash in my pool and in my yard, I'm fine. But I left my iPad in my wife's car, and she was down in San Diego. So I've been waiting for her to get home so we can see if we can even do this. And
So this is going to be
been a stressful day.
This could be the shortest show because your iPad is dying as we're speaking. This is going to be the worst sound quality on the audio podcast because we can't use our normal tools. So it's coming straight
we've
from...
done worse. We've done much worse.
Straight from YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and honestly, if you've listened to the show long enough, you guys know I have podcasts from some pretty janky locations with some pretty bad internet. I podcast from hotel rooms during conferences, in the middle of the desert with basically a dial-up connection. So I've done much worse at times, but yeah, in general, our production quality is usually a little better than what you're listening to right now. So if this is your first show, I'm just going to let you know this is like a lower bar for us. We typically try to be a little better than this.
If this is your first show because you saw me post on Reddit, go away. We don't.
See,
you didn't even promote the show in your post, by the way.
No, but I'm the only moderator of the PHPUgly subreddit. So,
and what does that mean?
It didn't work out. I thought I had made a very salient point, a very good conversation piece. I was told I was wrong by people who were not the target audience, and they downvoted me into oblivion. And I had to go on Discord and beg people to upvote me back to 0. So wasn't great. Didn't work out. Oh well. I'm over it. It didn't turn me back to the sauce. I'm still not drinking, so that's good.
So just to be clear, so we had this conversation. You brought up wanting to make this post, and we've had the conversation numerous times about Laravel and Semver over the years. And your post was not anti-Laravel. It was meant, like you said, to spark a conversation, to talk about why you think Semver should be followed in a different way. Not that they're not following Semver, but how they're doing Semver amongst all of their packages needs to change. And I think that might have gotten lost just a little bit in the post.
Oh, it clearly got very lost because people were telling me things that are pretty obvious. Like if you're enterprise, you don't have to upgrade immediately. Whereas that is not what I was saying. And what the number one comment for a while was everyone's asking for less Semver, everyone's asking for more Semver. I think it's fine how it is, which is a clear not understanding of what the word Semver means.
If you don't
have more or less,
if you don't work in a mission critical application, like that's how your business makes money, where you can't just upgrade packages. You need to verify each upgrade to make sure it doesn't break your application so that you can keep making money. Then you really don't understand what's happening.
Right. And I had a lot of people tell me that they ran enterprise level stuff and never ran into any problems with version lock and never had any problems upgrading packages. And I laughed and laughed and laughed because who would just go on the internet and lie? No one would do that.
Yeah. So I'm in a different position there where every upgrade of a package that comes through, we look at the commit history and the code to make sure that the things that they're changing won't break the application. You know, you're hoping that they have testing, you're hoping that they're following Semver, but there's been too many times where you upgrade a library and things break and you're like, ah, and you're like, so then it's like, never again. It's split up, different people are in charge of different packages, and it is your responsibility to check the commit logs, check the code that has changed between versions, which is a pain in the butt to begin with. And if you're not following some or in your, what you talked about in that article was Laravel upgrades their version, which affects all of their packages, all their Illuminate packages,
right?
Which affects all of the dependencies down the chain. That is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, and there's one place where I was slightly hyperbolic, and people did not know what to do with that, so they assumed I was being literal. And yeah, that was mostly my week was just embarrassing myself on Reddit, and then trying to learn doctrine.
Fun. So Eric brought up Discord. Join the Discord server. It is a lot of fun. I mean, lots of good conversation happens in there. And we talked about it happens during the show. So as you're typing, you'll see your messages fly up on our YouTube channel. But throughout the week, even into the night. So last night or the night before, it was last night, I'm up at midnight still typing on Discord with somebody talking about event sourcing, and got to a point where I'm like, all right, I'm going to bed. And they're like, sorry to keep you up asking all these questions. And I'm like, nope, it's actually my wife's fault. I was going to go to bed, but I always make coffee the night before I go to bed. And she put the coffee pot into the dishwasher, and the dishwasher was running. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to go talk about event sourcing on Discord instead. Yes, I know I could have stopped the dishwasher, washed the thing by hand. I wanted to talk event sourcing. It was fun.
You said earlier you were working on the magazine?
I did. We are very close to getting this month's out. We know it is late. Not as late as our first issue when we took the magazine over. For those that don't know, our previous editor, the person who does the layout and does a majority of the work, decided to retire. We brought somebody else in to handle that, who happens to be my wife. And, there's this huge learning curve. So she's learned a ton in the past month, but the magazine isn't out yet. So
that's two things that your wife's fault.
Yep, two things. But at the same time, I've learned a ton in the past couple of weeks as well, because I'm sitting down with her trying to teach her what needs to be done. Carolyn, who did the editing before, did all the layout. Like, I'm still impressed that she was able to get as much done as she did. Because when I sit down and look at it, I'm like, wait, why did you do this and that? And I'm of the mind that when I have to do something, I'm going to improve the process. And just within the past couple of weeks where I'm like, wait, why are we doing it this way? Wait, this is dumb. I'm like, we're repeating work or whatever. So just improving the process all around. Bottom line, magazine's late. Should go out hopefully tomorrow or sometime this weekend. And then we start on October, and hopefully that one gets out sooner. Tis the plan anyway.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm waiting. I've been a little bored lately. Although I do start work on Monday. Very excited.
So I actually had something interesting happen at Foam Burner this past week, last Friday actually, that I think is a good idea for other people to do. We use the magazine as like, in the past we've done book clubs, so we've gone over like design patterns and just different things, and then all of a sudden they're like, why don't we use the magazine? And we'll pick a specific article. We'll spend 30 to 60 minutes, talking about that, how it can improve that business. And it was like, I think other companies should do it. So maybe as you get ingrained in there, if it's something that they're interested in, having a learning session where the developers come together, you find something that kind of speaks to your team and have a conversation around it. think it worked out well for us.
I can recommend the graph database article from last month's issue. That was a great article.
There were a bunch. We great. Now I can't even remember the one we talked about. That's embarrassing.
We'll wait here. PHP Blueprint.
Nah, so not a Laravel shop, so that wasn't a good topic.
There was a nice DDD article.
We're gonna go back and do that
Boundaries.
entire series because that series has been around for a bit now. Not something to pick up in the middle. So now we're talking about starting from the beginning and then kind of working through that one. That would be a fantastic one.
And when you have a subscription to PHP Architect, that's very easy to do because you have access to our entire back catalog. So you can easily go back in time and see where these great series start and pick it up from the beginning.
That is true.
It's true. You know who's actually an advertiser for us?
This video is brought to you by Cloudways. We are all developers and love to write code, but managing the servers that code runs on can be a time-consuming and error-prone process. Cloudways helps you spend less time managing your servers and more time doing what you really want to do, coding. You only need one account to manage servers on multiple platforms and for multiple customers. Pick just the server size and location that makes the most sense for you and your customers. You can even estimate your costs for your server before spinning it up. Cloudways offers peace of mind and flexibility so you can focus on growing your business instead of dealing with server management. With Cloudways, you get an optimized stack, managed servers, backups, a staging environment, integrated Git, pre-configured Composer, 24/7 support, and a choice of 5 different cloud providers: Amazon Web Services, DigitalOcean, Linode, Google Cloud, and Vultr. Get a discount of 20% for 3 months using the code PHPARCH. Check them out today using our affiliate link at phparch.com/cloudways.
Thank you,
Cloudways.
Thank you, Cloudways.
I remembered this time that ad just cuts off abruptly.
Yeah, we need to address that. We were just talking about it. So Scott, we released Scott's first video last week. Wait, was it last week? No, it was this week.
It was
I released
this week,
it on Monday. Yeah.
Yep.
I released it on Monday, and man, it's doing well. It's getting some traction. I'm really happy for him. I know Scott puts a lot of work into his videos, and we're working through some kind of formats and what we like, what we don't like. I was actually giving him a hard time because in this video he doesn't show his face. He's just like this voice walking it through. I'm like, no, people want to see you, man. And so, but yeah, it's doing well. Check it out at the youtube.com/phparch, ARCH, PHPARCH. The video's up now, and it's a good one. He talks about Deployer, which I didn't realize was a project. It's fantastic. It looks fantastic. I need to give that a try. It reminds me a lot of Laravel's Envoyer, which its goal is to have a 0 downtime deployment. And it, I had written a bunch even before Envoyer. I had written a bunch of scripts to kind of do the same thing, but my scripts were very limited, very custom to my workflow. So this deployer. Deploy? Is it deploy or deployer? I don't remember.
Deployer.
It's Deployer.
Oh, it looks very slick.
Yeah.
It's able to accommodate a bunch of different frameworks or just generic PHP stuff. It's written in PHP, which always want to support those great PHP projects out there.
Deployer, not a sponsor of PHPUgly. No, but it's exciting to start getting some of this fresh content on the YouTube channel. If you're watching PHPUgly on YouTube, or if you're listening to us, please go to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe there, and please do the same over on PHP Architect at youtube.com/phparch, like Eric said. Helps us out.
I have a question for you guys.
Sure.
Foreign keys in your database.
We've talked about this before.
Yeah. What's your question before I assume it?
Well, GitHub, a GitHub developer has posted that they do not use foreign keys anywhere ever.
Mm-hmm.
That it negatively impacts performance and creates issues for sharding databases, and
that's it.
Can be more easily.
That's a key point. Sharding.
Yeah, so it can be more easily implemented in other ways, and foreign keys are just a crutch, and that on delete cascades are actually horrifying and bad.
That's why I love foreign keys.
Okay, go on.
So is your question what's our opinion of foreign keys? Or?
Well, yeah. Do you use them? Do you not use them? Why don't you use them? Why do you use them?
Sure.
Because now I'm like never going to use them again. This GitHub guy said don't use them.
This has come up a handful of times over the past few years.
Yeah.
So good, John. John, give us your opinion, because I have a stronger opinion about this than I used to.
I can't wait to hear it. I'm of the opinion that I don't work on anything big enough like GitHub where my performance is lacking due to foreign keys. The database is still a huge bottleneck, but it's not because of foreign keys. It's because of some terrible queries, the way things are joined. We're working through a lot of that, but it's not. I don't think foreign keys play a big enough role, and the benefit that I feel we get from them plays a much bigger role. I don't rely on the foreign keys to prevent inserts per se. It's more the cascading delete. I actually just went through a big project because, again, this code base is over 10 years old, where we finally want to start cleaning up data. So we just went through and added foreign keys with on delete cascade to a crap ton of tables, just so that we only had to delete from a handful of tables, and it would clean up the data across the other 400 tables.
Right. So you kind of did it there, but I'll just ask you to do it maybe a little better for maybe new PHP developers that are listening, or developers who don't understand what cascading deleting is. You mind running that down real fast?
Yeah. So in my context, we have, say, a contact. A contact has multiple addresses, multiple phone numbers, multiple notes. As soon as I delete that contact, it goes out to those other tables because of the cascade delete and says, oh, there's this foreign key with cascade delete. I deleted user 1234, so I'm going to delete all addresses for user 1234, all phone numbers, all, and it just goes through the entire gamut, versus in userland code where I delete from that table. Now I have to also delete from any other number of tables. If you have a big enough team, aka GitHub, where you probably have really good code review, really good planning around, oh, we're adding this table. Well, now we need to plan on when we delete this data, we also need to delete from that table. When you're dealing with legacy code, that's really, really hard to do, because you don't always have really clean code with good service layers where deletes happen in one place. They sometimes happen from hundreds of places in the code. You're not going to be able to go capture that all. So I decided cascade deletes were going to be the best way, even in the cleanup routine. So in some cases, cascade deletes were not feasible. So in those cases, for the cleanup routine, it's before I delete from the contact table, go delete from whatever other tables. Use the phone, for example. If I couldn't add a cascade delete there, I'm going to delete from that table first, and then eventually delete from the contact table and let all the other cascade deletes work. That's the reason I like them. I do understand there's a performance impact, especially on inserts. because it has to re-update all the indexes. But now I'm interested in hearing Eric's strong opinion.
Well, I want to bring up another issue here, which is that from my understanding of doctrine, reading about it all week, it requires foreign keys for its relationships.
I
don't know how it would require it. Like what?
Oh, if you're using the builder or the code generation where to build your initial models, but the rest of it is just PHP code and annotations. It doesn't care about the database layer itself.
That might be the case then. I'm just reading an article that says that that there's specific structures of foreign keys for many to one, one to one, many to many, and that foreign keys are essential in this configuration. But that would surprise me. So I guess, I don't know, if there's someone out there who knows doctrine well enough, I'd love to hear if that's an actual thing.
I mean, it would be a bad thing, I think, if it required it, which I don't.
I mean, I use doctrine. I don't recall ever running into that case where I couldn't do a one-to-many or any sort of relationship because of foreign keys. It may be the fact that we're in the middle of transitioning to doctrine, so it's a big part of the code base, but I haven't used it on everything. So maybe the things I have used it on, there was foreign keys there. But I still, from how I use it, I can't see that being a stopping point. But I also don't use the code generation piece to say, oh, I've got the table, create my models for me.
Right.
I could see if you're using it that way, then yes, you're gonna need the foreign keys in order to be able to do that.
Okay. Well then, Eric, what is your long-winded response?
Ouch. That's hurtful. It's Harry calls it passionate. Whatever. So this shows my immaturity as a developer. At one point, I was a self-taught developer. I kind of learned on my own as I went along. I didn't realize foreign keys were even an option. Like, I thought it was a requirement in a database. So I never even consider not having foreign keys. I mean, it didn't register in my head as an option. Like, I just thought, hey, if you want this table to know about data on this table, it has to be a foreign key. So it was just that. When I got involved with document stores, so document stores in general, as much of the data as can possibly be in a document is in a document, but occasionally there are relationships to other documents, right? And it's just, you just define, hey, this user's whatever medical record is this UUID on this table, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or in this database. It's not even a table, it's a database. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, that's weird. So the thing with document stores in general is the burden is on the developer to manage and maintain integrity of data. So you don't have a lot of constraints of, oh, hey, this field has to be an integer, this field is required. It's a document store, right? So everything is very fluid. So it all fell on the developer to maintain the integrity of the data. And I remember thinking to myself back then, I'm like, well, why don't we do that with relational databases? Like, why do we depend on the database to manage this stuff? And I'm still kind of on the fence about it because I feel like, on the one hand, if you have a big enough application, or if you have a big enough team where you have a DBA team, having that checks and balances in place where it's okay, I'm the last gatekeeper of data entering this database, and I'm going to dictate what type of data it is. I kind of, I still struggle a little bit with, okay, there's still a benefit of foreign keys, and the cascading deletes are a perfect example of why you might want a foreign key. But then recently, where I started to really pivot on this was John talked to me about a service called PlanetScale. PlanetScale, if you're listening, we've exchanged emails. You sent me a little gift. I appreciate it. Would love to have you as a sponsor. PlanetScale, appreciate it. But when I went to use them, they don't allow foreign keys. So PlanetScale is this awesome service where it's you don't worry about scaling your database or anything. It's I mean, I don't want to compare it to like RDS, Amazon's database service or something like that, because it's very different than that. It allows you to version your database and all this other stuff. It's a very cool service. I would talk a lot more about it if they were a sponsor. PlanetScale, PHP Arch, PHPUgly, wherever you want to go, buddy. Tech.
No. Just
but
here.
they had a great article on why they don't support foreign keys, and sharding was a big part of that. I'll see if I can dig that up. So ever since reading that article, in the back of my mind, knowing I wanted to use a service like PlanetScale more, I really kind of been secretly going away from foreign key relationships. Like I don't add them anymore. And every now and then I might get called out on it. I'm like, oh yeah. I forgot. We can add a foreign key in there. That's fine. I'll just create a migration. It's fine. But like in general, in practice, I don't do foreign keys anymore, and I haven't really noticed an issue with it.
You're not going to, because you normally do soft deletes, right? You don't you don't fully delete data.
Yeah, I don't. The project I'm working on now, we're doing a lot of soft deletes because that client has this expectation of soft deletes, but I don't particularly like soft deletes. It just seems to leave clutter in the database. But yeah, no, I'm kind of not using them, and I feel pretty good about it.
You wouldn't notice anything until you start finding orphan data. When you start wondering, hey, why is this table, 30 gigs? And you're like, oh crap, I was deleting from one table, but not this table.
That's not a
big deal, but it does add up.
And like I said, much like a document store, the burden of data integrity and data management falls more on the developer. And that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah, and it's great for projects where you know about it and you're making the conscious decision. Like, we are not doing foreign keys because we have a great architecture team, we have a great DBA, whatever. Like, everything is laid out and the code is clean enough where you're not deleting from one place and forgetting to delete from others.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, most of us don't live in that world.
There's no, I think at this stage there's no wrong answer, Tom. But you should be aware of it if you're going to use. I am really interested to read the GitHub article. I think John's right. Like, I love it when like GitHub again, you want to sponsor Microsoft, you want to sponsor, let us know. But when GitHub comes out with these sort of articles, it's like, oh yeah, no, fuck foreign keys, nobody needs them. It's like, yeah, when people are paying you the salary you get paid and you have a team as big as you have, it's easy to write these articles, isn't it? Yeah, but not everybody's like that. But I do want to read it because I do kind of agree with it, and I'll try to find that PlanetScale one and add it to the show notes as well. But you need to be aware of it, because if you're using services, there might be services that just don't allow for foreign keys now.
So I'm quickly reading. It's not necessarily about MySQL itself, but foreign keys can also improve performance, because MySQL, when you do a query, it does this whole optimization of the query to find the data in the best possible way. And it can use the foreign keys to figure that out. Just because you join from one table and then join 5 others, if you ever do an explain on that, it doesn't necessarily query your first table first. It's like, well, no, if I query the 3rd table first, I get a smaller data set, which makes the rest of it much easier to bring together.
Yeah. That's a total non-answer then.
It helps with like Laravel.
Wasn't a non-answer.
Doctrine has the same sort of premise. The it has many defining these different relationships in your code. For me, helps with that, right? Because I don't need to depend on these foreign keys anymore. I can just say, hey, this user has many addresses or has many phone numbers, and phone number can only belong to one user. I don't know. It's good. Works for me. I'm not sure why cascading deletes don't work on that premise. Like, hey, don't worry about foreign keys. Like in Laravel, Laravel has a great relationship manager in its model that you can define. And maybe it does work like this. I don't know. I should go look now. But if I do a cascading delete in Laravel, if it just didn't say, okay, you're deleting a user, let me look at the relationships and see what relationships it has, and then go delete those records. But yeah, I don't know. And I don't know, it doesn't work that way. It's funny, I never thought about it. I just always assumed it was working off foreign keys, but maybe it doesn't actually. I need to go check now. I don't know. Because there's no reason why that wouldn't work, because in the relationship, you define, what the foreign, or well, you can define it. It makes assumptions based on, standards. Like, if you don't add a standard, I'm going to assume that the foreign key is address _ ID or something like that. But you can also manually define that stuff. So, I mean, all the information is there. It's just not at the database level being enforced, but that doesn't matter for something like cascading deletes. There's no reason why it would require foreign keys to do cascading deletes in Laravel.
Right. Your ORM could handle that for you.
Right.
Yeah. Doctrine could, and maybe it does handle that for you. I don't know.
It handles a lot. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it, but
yeah, once you start getting into listeners and all those other bits with Doctrine, it's pretty crazy what it can do. You can have custom types, so when you pull a string out of the database, it can turn it into an enum for you. It can turn it into some other value object for you. It's pretty slick. And Eric, just like we've talked about with event sourcing, where you have your aggregate that maintains the state of your data, and it doesn't necessarily match to a database structure, the same holds true for your Doctrine entities. You can have your Doctrine entity, and I'm assuming you could do something similar in Illuminate or in Laravel. You could, instead of having a user ID on an entity, you could have a member or a user object. So when you pull a user ID out of the database, it now knows that it's a full-on user.
Yeah, that's
Laravel does that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been looking at the entity manager and how the unit of work thing works, and it's cool stuff. I'm a big fan.
So you're looking. I want to get back to event sourcing, but you're looking into Doctrine, Tom.
Yes.
Are you working on a particular framework or something in the new job that requires it, or is it just straight PHP code that uses Doctrine? What's the story
no,
there?
it's my framework, Briargate.
Okay. All right. So event sourcing. A lot of people have been asking me about, tell me more about event sourcing. I'm like, dude, I am like treading water with event sourcing. But this week, I finally had something where I'm like, okay, that's a pretty cool feature. So I've been working on event sourcing for a couple months now, making little progress here and there. And, one of the things that initially frustrated me when I went to do event sourcing in practice was to discover that your aggregate or your event stream wasn't just capturing data for you, like just capturing. I explained this before. I had it in my head that it would just like automatically capture everything in a request sort of thing. So I was really bummed to hear that, and I really have struggled to see what the benefit was with event sourcing, and I kind of bought into we can have these commands and we can track those commands. And I'm like, all right, But this week, John and I ended up having a conversation. I'm like, okay, that's actually really smart, and I thought it was cool. So the way I've been implementing my event sourcing is there's one aggregate, and this aggregate contains all the information about the product, the pricing, availability, and all that. It just continues. So all this stuff is customizable, and every time it's customized, it's added, and the aggregate keeps track of this. And we're on the back end of that now, where there's a purchase process where a customer can come in and purchase the product. And I was struggling with how I wanted to track that in the aggregate. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just create a collection and just dump all the purchases in the collection. And John and I started talking through it a little bit. And he was like, technically you don't have to do that. I'm like, well, I've got to track the purchase, John. I mean, that's silly. I need to know that the purchase happened. And John's like, well, yeah, I mean, you would still fire the command, and the command would still be logged into the stream, and it would still have the stream ID for that thing. You just wouldn't add it to the aggregate. I'm like, wait a minute, what? And he's like, yeah, it's like, when the aggregate itself, what you're dealing with, that purchase information isn't relevant to anybody using the aggregate. So that doesn't need to actually be part of the aggregate. And I'm like, oh shit, that's actually pretty slick. So I don't know, am I explaining that correctly, John?
Yeah, so in general, your aggregate represents state, but you only care about that state for anything outside of the aggregate that is using the aggregate itself. So in this case, when we go to project, we care about that data, but nothing outside of the aggregate is going to say, hey, at least as of right now, nothing is going to say, give me the purchases for this aggregate thing. So the whole point is then you don't need to have a collection. You don't need to worry about how you're going to represent it in the aggregate at this point. Let the event flow through, kind of ignore it for now. In the future, when we decide, oh, we're going to do something with it, now we know what we're going to do. So we know how it's going to change the state of the aggregate itself. When it flows through, it's still going to hit all the code that does projection. So the projection will see that event, and maybe it gets projected somewhere, but it doesn't change the aggregate right now because nothing is using the aggregate for that piece. And that was kind of a realization for me too, as we were going through that, because as we've done everything else, it's like, oh, the aggregate has to be updated on every step of the way. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, not for this. Because when we first started talking about the purchases, I said that. I'm like, no, we'll add it to a collection. And then we know we have 100 of these things. We know we've had 50 purchases because the collection has 50 items in it. And if we need to project out the remaining, it's 100 minus the count of the collections. We're good to go. And now it's like, well, no, we don't need that.
Yeah.
We'll just do it based on the event.
Right. And we can even still project on it. Like we can just say, hey, this inventory item has been decremented by 1 because it was a purchase.
So
but
the only question I have on it, because I haven't dealt with this yet, is when you ask the repository, give me aggregate 1, 2, 3, 4, it replays all the events and then builds up its state, right? That's why I was saying we don't need to make it part of the state right now, because in a week from now, when we say, oh, I need to know just a list of the transaction IDs. So you go into the apply purchase was successful handler in the aggregate. Now, the next time we go ask the database or the repository, hey, give me aggregate 1, 2, 3, 4. That time it's going to say, oh, every time I hit this event, keep a collection of the transaction IDs. A week after that, well, I really need to know the result or some other piece of data. Well, the next time you pull it, it will know that data. What I don't know what will happen is when you do snapshotting. So when we get to that point and you snapshot the aggregate as it is now,
it's true, right? It wouldn't have that information.
Right. If you set it up to do it every 100 events, well, now the next time you get it out of the database, you don't have the first 100 events to put that data into the aggregate. I haven't dealt with that, so I don't know. I'm sure there's a way around it. Oh, well, if you're gonna change this, you need to go replay. You need to recreate your snapshots, which is probably very doable.
Right. And I'm still leaning towards if I do need to add it to an aggregate, and this is particular to the application, we don't need to get too much into it here, but having purchases be its own aggregate. Like I just want a list of all the purchases that happen. It doesn't need to be part of that inventory aggregate. I just want its own like event. Okay.
It should be so. In what? Again, getting in the weeds, we're also talking about having a separate payment service. That should be an aggregate in there. This should be reading the event stream and then making it part of its aggregate of, oh, I've had purchases for this specific product I need to store. So while you're correct, within your application, it shouldn't be a separate aggregate. That should be an aggregate of the payment service.
The payment service, that's interesting.
So it has its own aggregate. You're reading. The way we're doing it currently is we're getting commands from the outside world saying, hey, we're going to record this event. In general, it could be that payment service is its own event source thing. It writes everything to an event log. Now, our service can read that event log and then react to those events and say, oh, this event was for product 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me record that this transaction happened and move on. Versus being told that it happened. But that's where microservices shine. Microservice handles its own thing, publishes the event. It doesn't have to then reach out to your service and say, hey, this event happened. You're going to know because it happened over there. I just didn't bring that up the other day when we were talking about creating the payment service. It seemed a little much.
If an event happens that you're not logging, what do you do?
Log it.
Honeybadger transforms you into a DevOps hero by combining error, uptime, and cron monitoring into a single, easy-to-use platform. Stop wasting your time tailing logs and deploy with Swagger. Visit honeybadger.io today to level up.
Thanks, Honeybadger.
Thanks,
Thank you, Honeybadger. Puppy.
Oh, it's the foster dog. That's not a foster dog.
The forever foster.
I got an interesting update here for you guys.
What is that?
There's the weekly Laravel release that has, some like new test assertions this week, intended session URL from the redirector, new eloquent mode for discarding fills for attributes, which I actually like. But I ran across an interesting new thing that's part of Laravel, signal traps. This catches kernel level signals to the program. So if you send a control C command, which is like a sig quit, then you can catch it and do something before the application quits.
You can do that already.
Cool.
You can do that already, but now this is just a part of Laravel. So you could do that with PHP before, but now you can do it in Laravel.
Well, how can you do it in PHP?
You can just when you set up. I do it in my workers currently.
PNCTL_signal allows you to
Oh,
assign
okay.
a handler to the signal.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't like it was impossible or even difficult beforehand, but it's just a nice little thing to have in something that could be running queues or could be running long-running jobs. And there's a lot of signals it catches, sig stop, which is like Control Z, so you can pause the application. SIGINT.
Especially as many people who are writing long-running processes in Laravel now, like artisan commands and things like that. I mean, there's that whole, what's it, Laravel 0 or something? The command, basically, it's just like a command line interface, for a framework for writing command line interfaces.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I wrote a job handler, basically. And I do the same thing where when I catch a Control C, but I want the job to finish before actually exiting, so you can exit gracefully.
Well, that's not what you're supposed to do.
No, you're just supposed to crash, right?
Yeah. Just hard crash the desktop. So I thought that was cool. That's a nice little Laravel thing. We've got another Laravel thing. Laracon Online has announced their schedule. And I'm excited. Got a lot of friends' names on here.
I didn't even see call for papers or anything. I must be getting out of that loop or something. That's crazy.
Does Laravel do call for papers? I thought they just handpicked their speakers.
Yeah, they do. It's very clearly a handpicked selection.
Oh, they don't do call for papers. Oh, okay, all right. So they do. I guess when you're Laravel, you have enough top-notch developers that you don't have to beg for speakers. You just say, hey, come speak for me.
Yeah. Well, naturally, Caleb Porzio is going to be one of the first early speakers talking about the future of Livewire. I thought you'd be really happy about that, Eric.
Very happy about that. Unless he completely changes everything, because he's been talking about rewriting it all. That scares me, but.
And we're getting a 1-hour Laravel update from Taylor.
Yeah, I think he normally does those. Yeah, he talks about the next major release of Laravel and what their goals are and what they're working on.
I hope it's LTS, because there's currently no LTS.
It's not going to be LTS. He's over that.
Yeah, I know. Tried it and it didn't work, I believe is the term he uses
I want to know
on Twitter.
One of the last times I spoke to Taylor, he mentioned wanting to get Laracon in person going again, but honestly, I don't know what the motivation for him would be for doing it. I mean, the Laracon Online is pretty solid. Laracon EU, I think, still happens, and that's a conference that's put on without him having to do it. I don't know. I don't know if it's. So he talked about going to an in-person conference again, and everybody got excited because they thought he was talking about Laracon. But he talked about going to an in-person conference, I think, in January or something. I'm like, well, no, that wouldn't be Laracon. If it was Laracon, he would have said Laracon. He doesn't say that. So I don't know. I guess I wish Laracon. That was one of my favorite. That and Tech, of course, were my favorite conferences to go to. But I still like the smaller Laracons. I mean, Laracon got really big there near the end, and before the pandemic. Not the Laravel stops being significant. The last couple Laracons before the pandemic had gotten really big. The Chicago and New York ones were really big, and that was fun. I mean, it was by that time I had an established circle of friends that we would still see each other. And I would run into a lot of people who listened to the show, and I hand out stickers. But Laracon has always been a one-track conference, and that just gets just sitting in an auditorium with like 600 people, 500 people, it's just not comfortable. Like it's, there's the aisles are long, so like people in the middle are always getting up and having in the bathroom, and it just wasn't as pleasant of an experience as the smaller conferences when I first started going were in Louisville. And those were just like, I just thought like this is the perfect conference. It's like one track, you don't miss any talks. The audience was pretty small. I think back then it was like, I don't know, like 200 maybe. And it was just like I really had enjoyed the smaller laracons. But yeah, laracon's a great conference. I hope they go back in person. I just don't know. I would hold my breath, but I do know Taylor had some interest in doing it at one point. So we'll see.
If only there were another conference that he could go to.
Well, when I saw that tweet, there was a part of me, I'm like, oh, is he going to promote us? Is he going to promote us?
No.
Yeah, tech is chugging along.
Nothing to add yet.
No? Okay. Nope. I wasn't going to say nothing.
You wasn't going to say nothing.
Speaking of conferences.
The Obamas haven't confirmed yet, right? No? What?
No.
What were you saying, Tom?
Speaking of conferences, did you guys watch the Code conference? This I'm sorry, not the Code conference, the Apple Reveal conference that was this week.
No, I have no reason to watch it anymore.
Oh man, you didn't see the new watch?
No.
It's so cool.
What's cool about it?
The Watch 8?
No, the Watch Ultra. I think Ultra.
Ultra.
Yeah.
Is that what's cool about it? It's got a new name.
No, it's like much more industrial. It's designed for well, it says it's designed for people who are adventurers, but
yeah, I tell you, I don't know it, so I'm not going to see it. But I'm so tired of Apple fanboys saying, "Oh, it's so cool because it does this," and you find out, "Oh yeah, Android has been doing that for 5-10 years." So it's hard to. I don't know it. I haven't looked at it, so I'm not going to knock it. But unless it helps you float, I'm probably not going to be that impressed by it.
It has a dive computer functionality. It actually is scuba certified.
That I didn't know.
That's
pretty
amazing.
Pretty impressive.
100 meters. 100 meters of depth.
What were you saying, John?
So the Apple Watch that I have, or the version before, does some cool things that I don't think Android watches do. And you've had a lot of Android watches, or
I have
Google OS or whatever it's called, and it's lacked, right? It hasn't done what you wanted it to do. One of the things, and the reason I wear mine, which I don't wear it that often, but when I do wear it, it's for paragliding, because I like the impact piece. Like, hey, I think you just were in an accident. Do you want me to call somebody? And if you don't respond, it calls your in case of emergency person.
So along that same line, John's right. I've had a lot of Google watches. The last couple I've been okay with. I typically go Citizen. Citizen has a brand of watches that are pretty good. So I've liked the last couple. I tried the Samsung, and Samsung, they deviate too far from the Google Watch stuff. But I'm pretty excited because Google is finally coming out with their own version called the Pixel Watch.
They've been saying that for years. Has it been announced?
No,
yet?
it's on the website. Yeah, it's coming out in I forget, November, I think, or
2047.
So I'm kind of, when is it?
He's being funny.
Oh,
it's
October
6th.
October 6th. Okay, I knew it was sometime around there. I've actually I've gone back to a traditional watch because I'd gotten to the point where I thought I was getting overly too many buzzes were happening on my body. Like my phone would buzz, my watch would buzz. But I did like it a lot when I was riding on the motorcycle because of that. Because I could tell when somebody was trying to get in touch with me. I could actually have my navigation on my wrist. So I've kind of been back and forth on whether I want to get another one. And then I saw the Pixel watches coming out. I'm like, all right, maybe I'll get. The problem with Google and Apple's the same way. Is like their first couple iterations usually suck bad.
Well, I was waiting for the Pixel watch before I switched to the iPhone. Like I was putting up with the Pixel 6 deficiencies, the things that were frustrating me, in hopes that, okay, the Pixel watch is coming out, this October. I'm going to wait to see how that is. And of course, disappointed again. It was like 3 years in a row. I kept saying they're going to come out with one, and they never did. So,
oh, you would like it though. One of the features on the Pixel Watch is it gives you your altitude. It says, "Hey, you've gone up this far, this fast. You might be flying."
Well, there's some interesting new stuff in the Ultra Watch. Well, in all the watches. A big thing is car crash detection, where it contacts your.
I think that's basically what John was talking about. Collision detection. Yeah.
Well, that wasn't a feature before. There was like fall detection.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt was walking to the car one day, and it told her that she was walking unstably and needed to sit down because it could measure that her center of gravity was moving wrong. And it's true, she got lightheaded and had to sit down. The Ultra requires cellular connection. It's connected with a SIM. And it has a sapphire screen, which like they don't push enough, but like sapphire is the hardest clear thing you can get. Like it's really, really, really tough. One of the big things they focused on with the presentation or whatever was ovulation tracking.
Oh, I need that.
Are we trying to sell Apple Watches now, or is there a PHP angle to this? Or
I'm gonna get one.
I'll be interested. I mean, it sounds cool. Yeah.
He needs the ovulation tracking.
But what we did talk about. Well, see, I'm wondering what's going to happen when guys start putting this watch on and it tells them that they're ovulating. One thing we did talk about, though, is the blue boxes and green boxes issue. Which
did you ever watch that video, Eric, I sent to you? The Marquez Brownlee video?
Yeah, I feel like I did. I don't remember now.
Emotionally, in my heart, I did. Mm-hmm. With my eyes, no. Well, Tim Cook was asked about this issue and responded, if there's somebody who can't get messages from you because of compatibility, then you should buy them an iPhone too.
That's a horrible response.
Yeah.
Especially seeing how the whole reason for it is because they intentionally make it a bad experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah, it's really like, so he was specifically asked about the RCS protocol, the Rich Communication Service, and basically said, like, oh, we don't care, and we're not going to. If it's a problem, buy grandma an iPhone.
What a dick.
Yeah.
That's one of my biggest problems with Apple. They did it. So I remember when they started doing, when they opened up NFC and said, okay, we're only going to do it for Apple Pay. I'm like, what a dick move. Like, this is a protocol that other technologies are trying to take advantage of, but people aren't adopting it because they have iPhones. And now they see the benefit of getting a little coin through Apple Pay and being a part of every transaction that somebody makes, that they enable it for that one piece, but won't just enable the NFC protocol for everybody, for everything. It irritates the hell out of me. They're bad stewards of technology when they do that, and it makes me mad.
I agree. I don't like it. Gonna have to get that watch though. I found a very awesome new tool. Play.phpsandbox.io. I don't believe I brought this up before, but like
I think this has been a thing. I've been to this site before.
This is new to me, but it lets you select a package from Packagist and then just start playing with it in a web-based IDE.
Yeah.
And
it
pulls
it's
up
pretty cool.
It pulls up like sample code for the package. It pulls up the documentation for the package and like just gives you a window that you can run little sample stuff in, and it's so cool. And I definitely recommend people check it out because there's been so many times where I'm looking for
maybe when I get internet back, I'll give it a look again. I don't know. I discovered first thing, my workflow in general, I do everything with Docker containers and stuff. So the fact that my internet was down didn't completely stop me from working. It did stop me from what's the needle haystack needle stack overflow lookup sort of thing I can't do anymore. But the one thing that kind of caught me off guard is I'm working on APIs, and again we have multiple services. So the cool thing about my workflows, I've been using Lando thanks to our Discord. Whoever Discord had suggested Lando to me. So it allows me to spin up multiple sites. I can have this site using an API from this other site all locally. But I discovered today that Postman, which I've been using a lot of to test my endpoints, won't let you change your environmental variables if you're offline. I'm like, wait, what? Son of a bitch. I mean, you can go into the tab, the entry, and put it in there. But
are you sure about that?
Trust me, I tried several times. It said, hey, you can't change this environmental variable until you're back online. But
ouch.
So in all my things, I have little squirrely bracket, and environmental variable. And it's weird. It was a cascading thing. We talked about cascading deletes earlier. It was a cascading thing where I guess so one of the benefits to using Lando is it addresses the thing that I talked about years ago, where I want to be able to spin up services. I don't want to have to manage ports and stuff. I just want an easy URL I can go to. So Lando does that for me, and it uses what's it called? Masquerade DNS or something to
DNS.
DNS.
Yeah. So it spins up this little proxy server. It's really slick. I can't talk enough about how good Lando has been. There's been some quirkiness about it, but like trying to use it with Tinker. But in general, I've been really happy with it. But apparently, even though it's all self-contained, if it's not able to talk to the outside world DNS, that DNS piece doesn't work. Or at least it wasn't working for me today. So I figured, I'm like, well, shit, it must still be trying to do some sort of DNS. I don't know why. I don't know why it would be doing this, but it must be trying to do some sort of resolution.
That's not Lando doing that. That's your local machine, isn't it? Like your local machine, when you go to a URL, it's going to ask the outside world probably first, and then maybe fall back to
Lando.
Sure.
But still, it should still fall back to it.
I would think so. Yeah.
So the URL wasn't resolving correctly. I don't know if it's a problem with my configuration or not. But again with Lando, it also says, okay, here's the IP addresses, or here's the port it's running on. So if you want to just go to localhost this port, that will come up as well. So that's what I was trying to change. So I have an environmental variable in Postman that says, okay, here's my base URL, and that's what I was trying to change. and it wouldn't allow me to change it because I was offline. So I had to go to like each endpoint I tried to hit. I had to go in there and manually put in my local host URL.
That's crazy. I'm shocked on that. Now I want to go try it.
Hang
on, I'm gonna kick my Cat 5 out real quick. So,
all right.
With Lando, do you change your name servers to add Lando as a name server?
I did not know. It's on Black Magic how it works. And like I said, it has a little proxy server it spins up to. So that's the thing is like the proxy server is what actually takes over port 80. So like occasionally when I go to spin up like another Docker container that I want to run on port 80, I have to remember I have to shut down my entire Lando environment to do that. And that's all configurable. I do it because I just like it all being on port 80. And I mainly use Lando now. So like the fact that I need to spin up another one occasionally is very rare. But you have to, so you shut down your containers for your project, but that proxy server is still running on port 80. You have to remember, I think it's called like Lando, the command is like Lando power off or something. And that tells Lando to shut down everything. I've been really happy with Lando. It took me a while to understand some of the quirkiness with it, but yeah, I'm not unhappy with it.
Lando's not a Laravel thing then.
No, it's just it's its own project, but it has like recipes for Laravel, WordPress, a bunch of other things. It's cool.
This is lando.dev.
So the interesting other and I've been fighting this a little bit internally. Being the CTO of the company, I have some sway on how we do this. So instead of what we do currently,
he does.
What we do currently is we set up Docker environments, and all that stuff gets put into the repo, the Docker and the builds and all that. With Lando, all we would have to add to the repo is the Lando YAML configuration file. And then everybody's on the same page through that one file. You just say, Lando start and for this project, and it pulls everything in and takes care of everything for you. But it's less to manage from a repo perspective. It's been very appealing. I was actually talking to our developer who's coming on board working on a project that I'm pretty sure I had accidentally added my Lando configuration to my repo of my version of the project that we're working on. Just because it's just one dot file, so it's not, you don't even see it in your file system. It's a lando.yaml file, and so it gets really it gets kind of transparent, and you kind of forget it's there. But yeah, it's very easy. Check it out. It's cool.
Yep. Sarah wants you to exercise your sway that you have.
Yeah, over Roundtable. I heard there's some problems with getting Roundtable out the door. Oh, the internet.
Man, the problem is time, and what a time suck my life has been. Right after Sammy had gifted me Roundtable is when we bought PHP Tech, and then I ended up moving, and I mean just so many things piled on at once. And I tried getting it going again, which I kind of have my panel, and then they got hit with this big project at work, and I just don't have extra time. And now we got tech coming up, and dude, it's just not enough hours in the day. I tell you, it's terrifying at times. But I love Roundtable, and I love we got Sarah, Joe, and Ben is kind of the panel, and then we bring other people in. And I really enjoy the conversations we have. And yeah, I just need to get back into that. It's challenging. I have challenges, man.
If necessary, I will be your guest.
I'm not that desperate yet, but
no, I know. I'm just saying, if necessary.
Looking forward to next week and hearing about your first week of work.
I'm very excited. I've got my laptop coming in tomorrow, my espresso machine. I'm all set.
Wait, did they buy you an espresso machine?
No, I got one on Amazon. There was like a midnight deal.
I said that might not be a good thing, man.
He spent $22 on an espresso machine.
I did.
That's good. What do you mean?
It's a pod. It's a coffee pod thing. It's the little pods.
Yeah, for espresso. It's $22. I'm happy.
You not
Speaking
like
of being happy, you know who's always happy?
Oh, have we not gotten into our Patreon?
Our patrons on Patreon. Look at those fish.
There might be new Patreons. I don't know. I didn't have internet today.
That's upsetting.
There might be fewer too. Again, I don't know. I didn't.
There's a more likely consequence.
Thank you, all our Patreon supporters. If you want to be a Patreon supporter, just go to patreon.com/PHPUgly. And we do appreciate it. It makes things run a little smoother. It's hard to tell right now, but normally they run a little smoother.
I'm trying to figure out what these shadow names are that are in the Patreon video.
Shadow name?
Yeah. Like behind Billy and below Laravel Magazine.
It should just be a shadow of that magazine, of that.
Yeah,
it's from way up. So Billy is actually Rodrigo, the shadow name underneath of it.
Yeah, it looks like your shadow has a font size that's larger and it's breaking on line breaks.
If I get internet again, I'll try to fix that. Thanks for pointing out my flaw there, Don.
Yeah. Let me know when your toilet stops glowing. That'll be great.
Was it? That's the second time you made that
behind
reference.
Behind you, your glowing.
Oh
toilet.
my! You guys want to see my backyard? That's my backyard, and that's my little. I got a little thing back there. What's this
gazebo?
Gazebo. Got a little pool here.
He sounds like one of those rich YouTubers who's like, yeah, one of those tent things you put in your yard, gazebo.
It's like, yeah, it's that. Look, I have a little remote here. I can turn everything on and off. So shows over. Hey, are you here? What's up, puppy dog?
A was just trying to give your podcast to Oscar.
I get an Oscar? That's very kind. I don't know if they make podcasting Oscars, but I do appreciate the thought.
Nope, they're called Webbies, and we don't qualify.
Yeah, look, it's time to shut down.
Is that a water feature?
That's a waterfall. Yeah, that's the waterfall. There's another waterfall over there for the jacuzzi.
This is just as bad.
I sound like a douche saying it. But.
This is just as bad as when Taylor was showing off his Lamborghini.
Yeah, let me unplug. I'm gonna unplug. Here, podcasting. There you go. That's kind of the whole pool. I have the stuff up there under covers because it's supposed to start raining tonight. But
possibly the worst idea for a podcast ever is PHP cribs.
Oh, I'm not dizzy. I'm not dizzy at all after that.
Yeah, spin faster.
Bar here. Look, I've been burning all these candles to try to keep the bugs away from me. It's not working.
You unplugged, so your machine's probably down to 2% now. You better close up quick.
Good. All right, I think that's it.
What?
It's been a fun, exciting episode. What?
Yes.
Episode 302?
Yep.
302.
I'm John.
I'm Tom.
Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know, Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. And shout to John. You know that he's smart and quiet. Unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shout out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional. But I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting. I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out to y'all. Peace to the whole squad, man. Hope your channel is doing real well on YouTube. Hope you guys are having fun. And it was an honor and blessing to do this little custom freestyle for y'all. Hope you enjoy. Stay up. Yeah. Come on. Hey.
That was a long one.
That was. I apologize to anyone forced to suffer through it. Except
Was it
for
bad?
Eric. No, it's great.
Okay. I don't think we even told people I was using. We were doing this off an iPad.
Video-wise, you couldn't tell.
Hurricane K made landfall
Where's that?
down in Mexico.
Is that all the rain we're supposed to be getting?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They
We're
need
gonna
it,
get some
dude.
too.
I went to Costco, which is again like 15 minutes down the road here, and I looked up, and the entire side of the hill was on fire. I'm like, holy God. Ugh.
Oh, we're gonna get some great weather this weekend.
We finally broke 100 today, which was nice.
Under 100?
Yeah, under 100. We've been over 100 for like 2 weeks now. Been rough.
It's gonna be 60 on Saturday.
But it's hell. Like I said, it was like 90 degrees when we started the show. It feels a lot better now, though. And I had to turn off, like I have these fans going up here, but I had to turn them down because I had these candles burning to keep the bugs away.
Do I want to die from heat stroke or bug bites?
Yeah, exactly. That was. I figured the beer would hold me over for a while. So, thank you, Frank. Maybe I'll do more outside podcasts when I have a better internet. I enjoyed it out here. This was nice change. I like it. Get out of the office every now and then.
Yeah, now you just got to figure out how to get the Scarlet Audio hooked up to it. Make a permanent little outdoor podcast station.
Right? That would be awesome. I mean, or I could just put my little mic back on the little stand like you have there.
Well, these mics are XLR, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's true. So I would have to, yeah, that would be a problem.
You can go 1,000 feet. Like an XLR cable can go really long.
He's saying just leave all your stuff upstairs and run a cable downstairs for recording.
Yeah.
I don't think that's far enough.
1,000 feet?
Have you seen his compound? I guess I could hook one into the golf cart and drive and see how long the 1,000 feet are. But, I like it, man. It was nice out here. Do that more often. Hey, you ready for bed? So anybody who was hoping to, I don't know why you would listen to the audio podcast after watching the live stream, but anybody who was waiting to listen to the audio podcast, it won't be ready for you in the morning. It's like, I don't know when I'm going to get to it. I will get to it, but yeah, the show notes for the YouTube channel, that ain't happening tonight either. So it's, I don't even know about titles and thumbnails. Yeah, we'll need to figure that out. It was a good talk. We can talk about foreign keys, something, a play on foreign keys, keymaster something. Yeah, we'll come up with something. Good talk about foreign keys, man. I tell you. Sarah,
we actually went anywhere with it.
I think we did. I think we were helpful. All right. I'm going to wrap up, guys.
Yep,
thanks
me
for
too.
putting up
Yeah.
with me. I hope things get better, and I
hope
this
you get on that.
for the 22nd.
I was gonna say, I hope your spot on that master list gets you a connection tomorrow.
Maybe I should have told him I'm a podcaster. Like, dude, I'm a podcaster. Dude, don't you know that?
Yeah,
I got a
professional.
podcast.
Just okay.
So now,
I didn't get the chance to say this one while we were on, but there was one time where my internet went out with Cox while I was working from home.
Mhm.
And I called him up and I said, "Hey, I work from home. This is a business connection." And the lady on the phone said, "Do you have a business account with us?" And I said, "Well, no." And she said, "Well, then I don't recommend bringing that up with any other tech support that you talk to." Because at that time, Cox had like a restriction. You could not use it for business purposes. It was only for residential.
oh, okay.
So she was like, "Yeah, just don't tell anyone that you're using it for a business because you're not allowed to."
Well, I tell you, we let go of the office, the Diego Dev office when the pandemic hit because it just didn't make sense. Nobody was going to it and blah, blah, blah. But I thought about keeping the office because of the pandemic and having it as like a place to go to as for refuge. The reason I didn't do that, because the rent on the office space wasn't that bad. I didn't consider it to be that bad. This is when I still had the old house. And we weren't moving, so I still needed. I still really liked my space at the office. But the reason I didn't, and we've talked about this in the past, fucking internet, business internet is insane.
So expensive.
It's so insane. I'm like, I didn't want to pay that. Like that. It wasn't as much as the rent, but it was high. It was very high.
It was gross. I want to say it was like $500 a month.
I think you're right. I think it was like $500 or $600 a month. It was, yeah. And for what we were getting, and there were apartment buildings right next door. They were on the exact same pipe. It's like there was nothing different from our pipe and their pipe.
Nope.
Exact same pipe, exact same speeds. And yeah, oh, so frustrating. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me.
All right.